Hi, Scott. How you doing? Okay, I've got you queued up here. I'm sorry I didn't get this to you a little bit earlier. I had some really funky travel weirdness, holiday travel weirdness. So, anyways, I've been trying to do what I can where I can. So, hopefully we'll get this cleared up, and you can. I've got a lot of really good comments, and I think that they're really going to make some good sense to you. Okay, so I think the best thing to do here was let's start with the covers. Okay. Now, in magazine cover design, you have some. I understand that you're taking some chances here, Scott, and I understand that you have some experience, and it shows. Okay. What my concern is this: is we're shooting for a portfolio piece. When you're designing for your portfolio, there are certain things you have to keep in mind, specifically what the portfolio reviewer is going to expect to see in your portfolio, as well as some of the basic concepts, elements, and principles of design. And that's what a student design portfolio is all about. So that said, I want to comment on typography, and I want to comment on each piece individually, then as a group, and then I'll give you my recommendations. Okay, so here we have the first piece. Now we have, I've got a lot of these designing magazines, and a lot of them really follow the same formula. It's masthead, and then whatever the layout featuring the magazine. So you can see these examples on the cover: masthead, masthead, masthead. There are expectations for the masthead to be at the top of the magazine, okay? And there's a number of reasons for that. And one of the reasons is that it's just become generally, it's become generally accepted. And the reason is because there still are newsstands, and there still are plenty of people that buy magazines on newsstands. Now, of course, publications don't make their money. They make their money on subscriptions, right? Nonetheless, there are still newsstands, and magazines have been designed basically to sit on a news rack for a long time. That's why the heading is across the top. As you can imagine, if magazines are stacked up like so, you have one, and then the next row down, you know how they kind of ladder down? So there would be something right in front of here. So if the masthead's not at the top, the viewer's not going to see it, and you're going to miss a potential sale. That's the ramification of that. That said, I think that's going to be expected in your design for your portfolio. I think it's really taken a big chance to do something other than what's expected. I'm not saying don't take chances with your portfolio. I don't want you to think I'm suggesting that, because I'm not. I'm saying typographically, there are expectations that probably really should be met, okay? This cover here, masthead at the bottom, there's no hierarchy, Scott. You have your masthead, then you have these in the exact same typeface. So there's no hierarchy. Which one's more important? What's the more important story? Now this one has a little more hierarchy just because of its size, but that hierarchy is taken away because it's presented in such a dark color. Let's look down here. Again, hierarchy. What is the cover story? Is it, I'm guessing it's this 10 stout recipes, but how is this differentiated from the other stories? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, there's nothing telling me that this is the feature story, this is the second story, this is the, and so on and so forth. Okay? Again, this is really highly, highly unorthodox, the masthead. I'm going to suggest against that, Scott. Again, same thing. Again, no, you've got this one here. Now it says interview with brewmaster Daniel Linden. So that's taking hierarchy, but I was guessing that this was your 10 stout recipes was the cover story. Okay, so again, we have these issues regarding hierarchy. This piece right here, we get these things that happen in portfolio, in magazine design, in typography specifically, where students start to let the image take over. And we don't want to do that. We want to speak typographically. Remember, first and foremost, this is a typography class. Okay? This is probably the best cover in terms of technical compositional setup, layout. But I still want you to work on the covers, Scott. I really do. I want you to try to just get a little more conventional, use more typography, less image, okay? Let's go over to the, let's go to feature spread. It's a stout world. Okay, so it's a stout world. Okay, so that is your cover story. So where's It's a Stout World? See, I don't see It's a Stout World. If that's the name of your feature story, that should be represented as such on the cover. Okay, here first, and another thing about the covers is it doesn't look like you're using solid grids. Okay, yeah, close to a 3-column grid here, but it's kind of looking like you're a little uneven. Center column being a little narrower than the others. I see an overwhelming tendency to try to push your design to the corners. In other words, try to utilize white space. Two things I'm seeing, Scott. Try to utilize white space. Use it as a design element. And the other thing I'm seeing is you know, the trying to communicate with image as opposed to type. You really want to start paying attention to your grids. Really want to pay attention to your grids, and you really want to start using white space as a design element. Okay. Okay, a couple of real quick things. These are called orphans or widows. Every time you have a lone word at the end of a paragraph or a lone 2 words, you don't want that. You don't want this, a line sitting alone. You don't want a line sitting at the top of a column alone or the bottom of the column alone. Okay, so look for that moving forward. That's a nice looking layout. You know, again though, everything to the corners, push to the corners. Okay, let's go to the content page. This is a nice piece right here. Again, we've got this grid thing. It's not a 3-column grid. It's not, these aren't grid lines because they're not even. So I'm trying to figure out how this is gridded out. You'll find that if you do lay a grid, then design with a grid, your designs will be mathematically correct and they'll be visibly pleasing. Okay, this piece right here, I think it's your best contents piece. Okay, I want you to think about grid on this piece. I want you to do a couple other things. Hierarchy here. Okay, this is just all bold type. Let's work some finesse in there. Let's try to work some finesse in here. Think about hierarchy. You have your brewmaster's master headline, then you have interview, and then you have this known for unique. That's why we did that outline interview. So, you know, these have different ranks of hierarchy and should be typographically represented as such. A little bit of difficulty reading this word here and this word here. And this is illegible completely. One more thing, this is okay using this screen back image, but the white isn't working on that. So what I would suggest is to go ahead and screen this back, keep it, but take the original image, put it at full opacity, and just sample one of these greens out of here and use it here where the white is. Then screen it back and it should be beautifully visible and it should also be harmonious color-wise. Okay, and I think that's what we got. So, I mean, I'm giving you my recommendations on something with typographic rules, but I want you to move forward yourself because I'm not a big fan of ADing or playing creative director here, Scott. I want you to do your own research. I want you to take my comments and apply them accordingly and move forward, okay? That's a widow right there. Remember I was talking about up there alone? Okay, so anyways, all right, so if you have any questions at all, if anything that I'm saying doesn't make sense, get with me, please, and I can we can make a phone meeting or a Skype or something, okay? Thanks, Scott.